Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Swipe up 172. This is the show where I give my opinions on current events, things that are going on, or just things that I see. Maybe it's movie trivia sometimes. But it's things that I want to share and talk about. So let's get it started, shall we? With this first little bit of information, as I'm sure everybody is aware, there is some things going on over at Spotify. There are artists that are starting to pull their music from Spotify. Neil Young, I believe, being one of the first to do so. Many more are following suit, and he is doing so because Spotify pays Joe Rogan $100 million a year for exclusivity of his podcast, which Joe Rogan uses his podcast to promote bad science, to promote bad scientists, to promote people in a lot of situations who are disseminating massive amounts of propaganda in order to profit. One of which being Joe Rogan. It suits him to be anti-vaccine, considering he owns his own supplement company on it. He is a part owner on it. He also brings in a ton of podcast revenue promoting other similar wellness products. But because of that, Neil Young, along with many other artists, are pulling their music from Spotify. A lot of people who use Spotify are canceling their subscriptions. And let me tell you, we recently had New Year, and one of the things that happens on New Year on Twitter and other social media is people will post these things that Spotify does that shows the most popular podcast, their most listened to podcast, their most listened to music. So there are a lot of people that use Spotify, as proven by this New Year that happened, and everybody's showing their wrap-up list for their top podcasts and things from Spotify, top music. So there's a lot of people using the service. I've never used it. I currently use Apple Music. But there are a lot of options if you are one of the people that have a Spotify account, and maybe you want to get rid of it. Maybe you don't want to support Spotify because they spend $100 million a year to have exclusive rights to basically, and Joe Rogan doesn't always talk about anti-vax stuff. He's good at having conversations, but he definitely promotes and cherry picks scientists and doctors that suit his opinion. He doesn't really have people on that challenge his opinion very often. And even though people that go on his show may be qualified to challenge his opinion more, they are basically selling out in order to get the audience that Joe Rogan allows them to reach. Jordan Peterson has a career 100% outside of academia because of Joe Rogan. Jordan Peters, he can go on speaking tours, and he's selling out everywhere. Just like all of the other controversial people that Joe Rogan has on. One of Joe Rogan's best friends, Alex Jones, is on more regular than a lot of people that I wish were on that show. But it's a show that I used to listen to and watch from day one. But as time went on, I started to get increasingly I started to disagree more and more with the stances and viewpoints of Joe Rogan specifically, as well as a lot of the guests that he would have on to promote and the things that they would promote and talk about positively. I disagreed with quite a bit. So at one point, I gave it up. And this was years ago. And as far as I'm concerned, I noticed him starting to change his opinions on a lot of things and dig his heels into a lot of ideas that he was no longer open to criticism about around when he started hunting. Joe Rogan used to be super anti-religion, very openly anti-religion. And now that he's around a bunch of these hunters who tend to be more conservative, who tend to be more religious, Rogan himself has basically become a completely different person when it becomes. He's very open to people believing in whatever they want to believe with. And then those are like, that was one of many stances that Rogan started taking that I had I disagreed with, because those weren't the things that I enjoyed of his. And it's changed. I've changed and grown a lot, and a lot of the things that I used to like in my 30s, I just disgust me. Joe Rogan being one of them. And he does the same shit. He doesn't take responsibility for the bullshit that he promotes. He guards himself. He's very smart about guarding himself from any liability. He falls back on the, he pretends like he's some comic being arrested, like his First Amendment rights are being are taken away. But it's like he's just a rich white dude who wants to make as much money. That's all he cares about. And he wants to promote ideas that he believes in, which one of those things is that vaccines are bullshit. He's been into fake bad science forever. Early on, he had an AIDS denier on his show. And for many podcasts after that, anytime he had a doctor or scientist on, he would invite them to debate this AIDS denier guy. And the problem with that is giving the AIDS denier guy any kind of platform in which his ideals are based in science. It is like this fake thing where somebody's trying to make money by being opposed to modern science in some way, and he's trying to sell a product. He's trying to either sell himself as a speaker or whatever. And Joe Rogan tried to promote this anti-AIDS guy and tried to help him out and get him a platform by which to help him out. That's the type of dude Rogan was from day one. So in that way, he hasn't changed. But he's stopped. He's been closed-minded to a lot of other things, and he's becoming more and more conservative. And even after I stopped following him, I would see clips and things. And to see him blame the California wildfires on Antifa, and then immediately after being proved wrong. He's done a lot. He being like this law and order guy because he's tired of people protesting the fact that George Floyd was murdered by police. Like, he's more concerned with traffic in LA than he is what the people are protesting against. Like, he has become more and more conservative, and I got tired of it. And, I agree with all of these artists that don't want to do it. So, if you are looking to leave, they broke down the prices. Apple Music, which I use and I like. I mean, I get it in a bundle because I have other Apple services. So, and it works the same as all the other ones, in my opinion. Apple Music is $5 to $15 a month. Amazon Music is $8 to $10. Tidal has a free version or a $20 version. YouTube Music is $5 to $15. SoundCloud is free to $10. Bandcamp, the prices vary. Qobuz, Qobuz, is $13 to $15. Resonate is the prices vary. And Neil Young's archive specifically is $20 a year. I use Apple Music. I saw another post that broke down how much these streaming services pay to the artist. And from what it looked like, Apple Music was by and large the biggest percentage they pay to artists for streams. So, take that into account if you're thinking of leaving Spotify, leaving a business that promotes anti-vaccine, anti-science. I I mean, I don't think any comedian should be like at the level of influence that Joe Rogan is. You know, to have, I mean, it's one thing, it's not, and it has nothing to do with his comedy. It's this other thing he's doing. Like, him being a comedian has nothing to do with him being a podcaster. Like, if he got canceled for saying a bad joke on stage, it would have nothing to do with him being a commentator at the UFC. Like, Rogan has 3 separate careers, pretty much. But he likes to use comedy as an excuse for the podcast. Like, that he's not susceptible to anything because he's just a dumb comic. But whatever. I mean, it really brings new meaning to his original nickname of him and his friends called Death Squad, which Brian Redband stole to make his, you know, podcast, quote-unquote, network. He reappropriated. But the original, quote-unquote, definition of Death Squad within that universe was Rogan and Tate Fletcher and Eddie Bravo and all his goon squad that he would, his posse that he would tour around with. And he went on, I think it was Opie and Anthony, went on to Opie and Anthony, and I believe it was Anthony that coined their nickname Death Squad. So considering Joe Rogan, the leader of that group, is promoting bad science leading to more unnecessary death because he thinks a certain way and cherry picks people who have the proper titles in order to back up and confirm his biases. So if you don't want to support that, there's some options out there. The Many Faces is an ongoing abstract ink portrait series that I started many years ago. I release a new face every day, but go to inspireddisorder.com to check them out. So many available. But as a listener to The Ray Taylor Show, you can save 10% when you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out. So go to inspireddisorder.com/TMF, that stands for The Many Faces. Go check them out, browse the entire collection, and when you decide on a piece, or maybe multiple pieces, make sure you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out, and you'll save 10%. As a big thank you for checking out my work, for collecting my work, and for listening to The Ray Taylor Show. And with that said, let's get back to the show. Let's move on, shall we? Peter Dinklage has harsh words for Disney's live-action Snow White remake. I, for one, not a fan of Disney in general. More and more, they're becoming like so many other disgusting major corporations where they don't pay their artists. They get out of paying their artists. They have to be sued by people that work for them because they win against their own contracts. They repurpose and regurgitate like classic animated films to triple dip with the live action remake bullshit. They try and hop on trends of being more inclusive in the LGBTQ plus community, but they do it in like this the least like, you want to talk about baby steps in directions. They are taking the smallest baby steps because there are a lot of like right-wing ultra religious people that love Disney as well. And if Disney put out a major movie, like Disney branded, not Marvel, like if they came out with a Marvel movie that the lead was a gay person, there would be riots. There would be riots. And Disney doesn't want to cause riots, so they're taking baby steps, even on their properties like Marvel and Star Wars and all that stuff. They have very like vague, like, oh yeah, this person is gay. But it's like it's like not I mean, they're barely getting people of different nationalities, which I appreciate. I appreciate that they're even taking steps. But these live action remakes are the biggest, saddest, most pathetic cash grab of all. And Peter Dinklage, Snow White, apparently is getting a live action remake along with all of their classic animated films, apparently. And Dinklage is upset with the fact that the Seven Dwarves aspect of Snow White is a little out of touch. With, not only Peter Dinklage, but there's a lot of performers that are little people that are success. I mean, Dinklage with movies and TV, I think he's like destroyed it. I think he's knocked down more barriers, more needless barriers than anybody. And there's a lot more inclusion with that. There's a lot more, you have anyway, I'm me trying to think of a name. Brad Williams, comedian, little person. And he had a take on this as well. He has an idea for Disney in order to change up the story to make it work, which I would love for Brad Williams to get hired by Disney to be a writer on that movie. I think the live action remakes could definitely use better writers than they've had, because the Aladdin remake was disgusting. It is such a shame that they made such a pile of shit but happened to cast correctly for once. Baby steps. They don't want anything that good. Will Smith, just another one of the long list of bad movies Will Smith has been in. So it's not surprising that this Snow White thing, they don't care. They're just doing it for money. They have the IP. They want to sell merch. How are you going to sell merch on like a almost 100-year-old animated movie? Like, okay, well, we got to remake it. And they don't put that much care into these remakes. Like The Lion King, interesting, still nowhere near as good as the first one. I mean, it's probably the most successful of their remakes, but still far from the original. So I like that Dinklage is speaking out. I mean, Disney's not a good company. They just got sued by one of their actors because they screwed them over in their contracts. Because of it was the pandemic. It's not necessarily Disney's fault, but Disney could have renegotiated one of the stars of their movies' contracts to help compensate for the change. But no, they have to artists have to sue them. And you have to weigh what that means. Do you ever want to work with Disney again? Because if you sue them, you maybe not. So I like Peter Dinklage standing up for it. I mean, I don't care. My excitement for Snow White is minuscule. Because I've already been burned on trying to watch these other ones that they make. They're not good. I'm not a fan of Disney. I don't think they're a good company. And I think they 100% hide behind this facade of child happiness. But I think they are a far darker company than they expose to the world. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I can't imagine them actually hiring Brad Williams. I mean, I can't see them making a good live-action remake movie. I can't imagine Snow White coming out and people being it being critically and the audience is adoring it. Oh my God, have you seen the new Snow White? Nobody's going to say that. But if they did get Brad Williams, it could be you would hear somewhere, it's did you see how funny that movie was? There were hilarious moments. I could see that because Brad Williams is hilarious. Let's move on, shall we? To a bit of something that highlights the differences in freedom of speech, propaganda, and just the way in which you can effortlessly edit the course of events into having a completely different outcome. This being Fight Club altered ending in China. The ending of Fight Club from 1999 has been changed in China, with the ending being replaced, which the ending is basically Tyler Durden, I guess, Edward Norton's character, and Helena Bonham Carter, their character, staring out the windows of a skyscraper and the buildings of financial institutions blowing up as part of Project Mayhem. And basically, as stated in the movie, setting America's debt to zero, basically wiping debt away from every person that exists in the United States, being debt free. Like people are arguing for Biden to erase student debt. This would be erasing all debt, which would be amazing. And I'm not even in debt, quote unquote. I just don't make money. But a lot of people are living with massive amounts of debt that they just barely make minimum payments. And all of those people, your mortgages, your credit cards, all that stuff wiped clean. That's how Fight Club ends. You met me at a weird time in my life. The Pixies. I don't even know if the Pixies play. How could that be the end of Fight Club if Pixies doesn't play? But they changed it. Wait, hold on. China, with the ending being replaced with text on screen saying, the police rapidly figured out the whole plan and arrested all criminals, successfully preventing the bombs from exploding. It actually says a lot. See here. This is what it actually says. Through the clue provided by Tyler, the police rapidly figured out the whole plan and arrested all criminals, successfully preventing the bomb from exploding. After the trial, Tyler was sent to lunatic asylum, receiving psychological treatment. He was discharged from the hospital in 2012. That's how it reads, like propaganda. Like, oh, the police were smart enough. Like, Tyler did the right thing, the quote unquote right thing, to maintain these financial institutions' chokehold on the American people. So yeah, and there's other examples of the fact that, especially now, because the reason why this came up is because Fight Club just sold the rights, not sold the rights, but they have the Netflix over in China. I forget what it's called. Is showing Fight Club, but they alter the ending. There's a lot of like major blockbusters that are made nowadays that are specifically written very simply and are specifically have characters in them that may or may not have much to do, but they'll be like Chinese characters, like actors. And then when they get released in China, because China's like, I think fairly recently become a new market, maybe in the last 10 years, a new market for films to get released. So movies make a ton of money because there's a ton of people over in China, which a lot of movies that fail here blow up there. But a lot of movies are written very basically so they can be translated more accurately when they play over in China. But also a lot of the characters that are kind of small characters that are around, like the Meg, the big shark movie. There's a specific character, I believe it's that movie. There's a specific character in that has a much bigger storyline in the Chinese version, I believe. Maybe it's a different movie, but it's a similar trend that I've seen. I haven't heard of it being spoken of recently, but there was, for a while there was a lot of movies coming out that were they tried to produce them and write them in a way that would make it more palatable for both audiences, but in my opinion, they weren't very good. But interesting to see that's the choice they went with the end of Fight Club, which is a great movie for those that kind of take it the right way. I don't know. Join Inspired Disorder Plus today. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus to join. Membership includes members-only discounts and deals. You get access to the Ray Taylor Show completely ad-free, as well as bonus episodes. You get access to the complete live painting archive. You also get access to every single podcast ever produced by Inspired Disorder, hosted by Ray Taylor. You get access to Ray Taylor's personal blog, as well as the opportunity to ask me any questions. So if you want to start a podcast, you're into art, ask me anything. And so many more things are being added every day to Inspired Disorder Plus. So sign up today, become a member, head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and become an Inspired Disorder Plus member today. Let's move on, shall we, to the last piece of news. Experimental robot surgeon can operate without human help. Doctors are being replaced. Oh, doctors are like surgeons. Now, because they're probably going to be more, robots probably be more accurate. Humans, there's so many ways in which humans can be horrible at doing whatever they do. Even if they are experts in it, it just takes like a weird traumatic event for people to, one, lapse in judgment, for people to make mistakes. Human error is, we are not good at doing the same thing exactly right all the time. Like it takes a long time to get to a place where you're even mildly good at doing it without creating a lot of errors. But compared to a robot, compared to like especially AI that's constantly being developed to perfect every small aspect of thing, hopefully, right? Because what robots add to is lower overhead. So, of course, people being without jobs, obviously. So there's going to be a complete industry where humans doing surgeries, they're going to have to go to other countries probably. Like developed countries are probably going to have this. Hopefully, which I'm sure it won't, what this is probably going to do, is going to maximize the profits of the people who run hospitals. So I would imagine that this is going to cut costs dramatically on so many levels. Liability, just it will be able to work. They won't have to take breaks. You know, you can run these things constantly and just perform surgery after surgery. But I would imagine that's not going to reduce the cost of the surgeries, especially in America. It should. It should, especially if they're better and more accurate and more prevalent. Should be way cheaper. Because it's cheaper for the people providing the service. Instead of paying a bunch of surgeons a shitload of money, you have a few robots and you just maintain them. And have far less people working there, far less surgeons. And eventually the robots will just pay for themselves. And a lot of these robots are getting so cheap anyway because they're being used for everything. So it's just going to be a way for people who are invested in hospitals. I don't know how financially hospitals work. I don't know the business model of hospitals, but it should lower prices. But what's probably going to happen is the prices are going to go up because they're going to sell it as a premium service where the time goes down. They're able to process more people, but the time in which I'm sure the surgeries will be faster. The likelihood of things going wrong will probably decrease. So like their liability insurance will probably be less. So overall, the hospitals are going to be spending far less money in so many different ways. And on top of that, they will probably charge a higher price to people. That's what's probably going to happen. What should happen is these robots being placed in all over the country in low-income places where there aren't surgeons around. and they should be super inexpensive. Like all of this technology should be used to help humans survive. And part of that is being able to afford medicine and medical care. But that's not the country we live in. We live in a capitalist society that cares about profit, and these businesses want to maximize profit. And when they find a way to eliminate having to pay a bunch of humans, they will. And they will pocket that extra income. CEOs don't take pay cuts. Businesses are required to make more and more money, not less, not like a steady line. So when they charge the same and the overhead goes down, their stock prices are going to skyrocket, and all the people that own stock are going to get a big payday. And the majority of people who are poor, who could probably benefit from some inexpensive surgeries, will end up fitting the bill, out of pocket. People still going bankrupt for medical procedures. But what should happen is lower prices. That's like, if society ran correctly, then that would mean that, just medical care is just going to get so cheap that it would be effortless for the government to pay for it. Just take like 1 second of the Pentagon's budget, just like whatever they spend every second would probably be able to pay for a year's worth of these robots being maintained. Anyway, let's do some shout outs and get out of here. Shout out to LA Times, shout out Slash Film, shout out Movie Facts, shout out Gizmodo, but most importantly, shout out to you. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.